This video is an educational documentary analysis of recent events in Venezuela. The goal is to explore the facts, international reactions, and historical context, and to encourage thoughtful discussion. All views presented are for informational purposes and do not promote or condone violence, illegal activity, or hatred toward any group or government.
Hey, it's Naomi. Today, we're taking an educational look at the recent events in Venezuela, analyzing the facts, the international reactions, and the debates about sovereignty, resources, and international law. This isn't about taking sides, but about understanding the complexities of global politics and encouraging thoughtful discussion. The story is bigger and more complicated than it might seem at first glance, and it raises important questions about how power is used on the world stage. We'll be exploring a military intervention that was justified by claims of fighting drug trafficking, the involvement of major global powers, and the reactions from the international community. This isn't just about Venezuela. It's about the rules that govern international relations, the role of the United Nations, and the ongoing debate over sovereignty and intervention. By the end of this video, you'll have a deeper understanding of the arguments on all sides, and hopefully, you'll be inspired to think critically about these issues. Before we dive in, let's consider a few questions. If a country is accused of facilitating drug trafficking, does that justify foreign military intervention? When natural resources are at stake, who truly benefits from intervention? And how do international laws and norms apply when powerful nations are involved? These are not easy questions, and the answers are often debated by experts, policymakers, and citizens around the world.
Point 1. The justification. According to official statements, the intervention in Venezuela was justified by allegations that the country's leadership was involved in large-scale drug trafficking and organized crime. The stated goal was to protect lives and restore order. The narrative presented to the public framed military action as a necessary response to an urgent threat of security and justice. Many analysts and observers have questioned whether this justification is consistent with international law and past precedents. For example, some point out that the drugs killing Americans, fentanyl, heroin, and meth, are coming from Mexico, not Venezuela. And yet no one was talking about sending the Marines to Mexico City to drag out El Chapo. Other countries facing similar allegations have not faced the same kind of intervention. This raises questions about consistency and selectivity, and about the underlying motivations for military action. Is it about stopping crime, or are there other interests at play? Point 2. The oil grab.
And girl, this is where it gets really messy.
Venezuela is known to have some of the largest proven oil reserves in the world. In the aftermath of the intervention, there were announcements about sending in technical experts to help restore the country's oil industry and promises of economic recovery. Supporters of the intervention argue that this could help the Venezuelan people by reviving the economy and creating jobs.
But let's be real.
Critics, however, have raised concerns about who will ultimately benefit from these changes. Some have argued that foreign companies and investors may stand to gain the most, while the local population could see limited improvements. This debate is not new. Throughout history, questions about resource control and economic sovereignty have been central to international relations. The situation in Venezuela is now part of that ongoing conversation. Point 3. The global double standard.
And here's what doesn't add up.
One of the most debated aspects of the intervention is its relationship to international law. The United Nations Charter generally prohibits the use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, except in cases of self-defense or with explicit authorization from the United Nations Security Council. In this case, there was no such authorization, and the intervention has been described by some legal scholars as controversial. The United States threatened China over Taiwan, saying you cannot invade a sovereign country, but then it turned around and did the exact same thing in Venezuela.
It's the kind of hypocrisy that makes you want to scream.
Observers have also noted that similar actions by other countries have been widely condemned, while powerful nations sometimes act with relative impunity. When it is someone else, it is a crime. When it is them, it is often called security or stability or protecting democracy. But the truth is, it is about resources, influence, and making sure nobody else gets a piece of the pie. This has led to accusations of double standards and selective enforcement of international norms. The debate over Venezuela is, in many ways, a case study in how international law is interpreted and applied in practice. The world reacts.
Girl, the world is watching. The moment the intervention in Venezuela hit the news, the global response was immediate and intense.
Colombia's president called it a violation of Latin American sovereignty, warning that this kind of aggression could destabilize the entire region. The message was clear. If it can happen to Venezuela, it can happen to any of us. Cuba called it state terrorism, accusing the American government of using violence and fear to get what they want. For Cuba, this was a repeat of history, a powerful country imposing its will on the weak. Iran, yes, Iran, said it was forced aggression and called for resistance. They warned that this kind of action would only breed more conflict and hatred, not peace. Russia called it armed aggression and demanded dialogue, not bombs. They accused the American government of hypocrisy, pointing out that the same people who talk about international law are the ones breaking it. China condemned the attack, saying it violated international law and set a dangerous precedent. They warned that if this is allowed to stand, no country is safe from foreign intervention. Even the European Union and the United Kingdom, who usually play it safe, publicly said they had nothing to do with this and that they believe in international law. They issued statements distancing themselves from the invasion, but their words felt hollow compared to the reality on the ground. Germany, Italy, and Spain said they were closely monitoring the situation, and they openly questioned America's actions. The world was united in shock, but divided on what to do next. Inside Venezuela, the government called for resistance and described the intervention as an unprecedented outrage. The population was divided, with some supporting the intervention and others protesting against it. The United Nations convened emergency meetings to discuss the situation, but as is often the case, the ability of the international community to enforce its own rules was limited by the realities of global power. When the most powerful nations break the rules, who is going to hold them accountable? The silence is deafening. Point 4. The history of resource wars.
The events in Venezuela are not unique.
Throughout modern history, America's military interventions have often been justified by appeals to security, humanitarian concerns, or the need to protect resources. From Iraq to Libya to Afghanistan, the outcomes have been mixed, and the long-term consequences are still being debated. The case of Venezuela adds another chapter to this ongoing story, raising questions about the effectiveness, morality, and legality of intervention as a tool of foreign policy. At the heart of this story are the people of Venezuela, families, workers, and communities whose lives have been shaped by forces beyond their control. While world leaders debate principles and policies, it is ordinary people who bear the brunt of conflict and uncertainty. The promises of liberation and prosperity are often complicated by the realities on the ground, and the true costs of intervention are measured in human lives and futures. And if you think this can't happen somewhere else, you're not paying attention. The rules are being rewritten in real time, and the consequences will be felt far beyond Venezuela's borders. This is a warning, not just a story. The next chapter is already being written, and nobody knows how it will end. So where does this leave us? The outrage is loud, but the action is silent. The situation in Venezuela highlights the challenges of balancing security, sovereignty, and human rights in a complex world. It raises important questions about the role of international law, the responsibilities of powerful nations, and the rights of smaller states. Is it ever okay to invade a country for its oil? Or for any reason at all? And if the world's most powerful nation can do this without consequence, what does that mean for the rest of us? As we continue to follow this story, it is essential to approach these issues with an open mind and a commitment to respectful, informed discussion.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share your perspective in the comments, and let's keep the conversation focused on learning and understanding. In part 2, we'll explore the aftermath of the intervention, the human impact, and the broader implications for international relations. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next chapter. Thanks for watching, and remember, the goal here is understanding, not division.